Hello and welcome back to Portugal and to a special midweek video that we're calling a flashback style video. Now we're going to be putting in a few of these because there's a bunch of people who are new to our story and there's a lot of history and context around some of the work that we're doing, particularly when it comes to the renovation, but also when it comes to the farm and the fruit trees and the winemaking and all that kind of stuff. So the video that's going to come out on Saturday in our usual weekly slot is going to be a bit of an update on some of the projects we've been working on recently. But if you're new, then it may not make that much sense. So what we thought we'd do is put in an extra video to give a short condensed version of some of the things that we've been doing previous to now. It sounded so simple in my head, but it may be sounding quite complicated to you, but hopefully we'll make sense of it. So what we're going to do in this video is give a bit of a recap on a big project that we've been working on for like the last 6 months, which is dealing with some damp issues in our property as a result of many things, which we'll try and explain in this video and kind of bring you up to speed on what we've been doing. So that's the plan. Let's jump in the time machine and show you what we've been up to over the last 6 months. So this whole damp, moist drainage saga actually started way back in August 2021. We'd switched from working upstairs in our old stone Portuguese farmhouse to working on the ground floor, and one of the first tasks was to dig out a bunch of the existing floor so that we could lay a new insulated slab on top of all of our services, things like plumbing, electrics, new water feed, sewerage, all that kind of stuff. And whilst I was away, fortunately for me, but unfortunately for my wife Kylie, she undertook that task while I was doing some client work off-site. And so over a period of about 2 weeks, I think it was about 6 days over 2 weeks, she undertook the task of digging out this floor by about 400 millimeters. Now that is to allow for all of the layers of the new floor that is going to go back in future, and we'll get to that in a future video and explain all that process and all those layers. But as one of my favourite things to do is to watch somebody else hard at work, I will let you enjoy that pleasure too for a few moments before we continue the story. So this was all well and good. Kylie did an amazing job of removing all of this earth by hand. And shortly afterwards, I came back to site to find a slightly different situation than we expected. And there was some bad news. Hi.
Hey.
You have something to show me?
Yes, but this is not the same room that I left it. Or not in the same condition as I left it.
What happened?
It's rained. It's very muddy in there now.
Oh, goodness me.
This has become quite muddy. So that's interesting.
Well, you've been banging on about moisture for weeks now.
I mean, you can see the bottom couple of rows where the... So this is one of our problems, is this wall is... Those bottom bricks are straight onto the earth with a tiny bed of lime mortar. And you can see how So much moisture has come up in that wall.
But one of the problems is that the internal floor level is kind of here, but then outside the floor level is higher.
It's higher. That's a big problem.
I mean, one of the other problems is I dug like an inspection pit here, so some water has come in through one of the corners. But yeah, this is... Are you going to do some mud wrestling? Hello, good morning, and welcome back to another video and another project. Over the next few days, we're going to be installing some guttering. It is going to be temporary guttering because we have to redo the roof at some point. But as we've talked about before, we have many issues regarding water and damp and moisture and drainage and all sorts of things to deal with. And a big part of that is the water that is hitting the roof. Getting an arty shot. Good job you shaved your arms recently.
Somewhere there's a pencil block. Is that about right?
That is about right.
Okay.
Yes.
Now I need the red one.
Coming up. Stuff is growing in here. So we needed a new plan, one that went beyond just guttering, and most importantly, we had to make sure that it worked within our context, the situation that is unique to this building, in this location, in this country. And some of those key things were that there is no damp-proof course on this building, and so that is why some of the water is coming up from below and can also wick up through some of the stone walls. The second piece of context is that there are no foundations here, or they're very shallow at least. At one stage we measured them and it's really just one big stone about 300 millimeters or a foot below the surface of the earth. Of course, the walls in question are made of stone, natural stone, and they need to be able to breathe, so we can't slap concrete all over them or put in non-permeable membranes or rubber paint or anything like that. Plus, we always try to do things in a natural, eco-friendly way as much as possible. And then, of course, in one part of the building that isn't stone, we have two red brick walls that are only 100 millimeters thick, and they were laid directly onto bare earth. So after lots of research and lots of thinking, we came up with a plan. Now, I do say we, but it was mostly Kylie, so I'm going to hand over to her now to explain the majority of what that plan was, and also show you some of the things that we've done to execute that plan over the last few months. Hi.
Hi.
You must be very excited because this is like your thing. You love this stuff. Drainage.
Yeah, maybe I just fool myself
digging.
into thinking I love it.
Well, you keep telling me that you love it.
I do. I love the problem-solving aspect for sure. And there is quite a lot of problem-solving to resolve this issue.
Let's start as simple as we can.
Yeah, so we have a 4-part solution, and putting the guttering on was the first part of the first part.
So it was like part 0. We're techies, so numbering starts at 0.
Yeah, so we have to finish the first part. So we put the guttering on and the downpipes on, and the rest of that solution is to actually put some gullies in, some underground pipe work that will take that away and store it somewhere else. So that will alleviate the rainwater, or the roof water, because there will still be rainwater obviously hitting the ground. But yeah, so there's a roof water, then there is surface water, so the stuff that does just fall on the ground, and then there is groundwater. So those are the three things that we have to solve, and we have 4 solutions to solve all those. Let me just walk you through the underground drainage. We're going to have, at the bottom of each of the drain pipes, what we in the UK would call a gully or a hopper. And so it's a square box with a grid on it. The water goes down in there. Sometimes it has a filter, sometimes not.
Sometimes it has like a U-bend on it as well.
Yeah. And then it will come, each of the downpipes will go into the gully, and then the gully will have a branch that then connects into a master underground pipe using grey underground drainage pipe. And then it will come all the way down there. All of this will be coming up as well. But we're just going to start with the underground drainage going down there. And if you follow me.
Sure.
This one also, same kind of thing. There will be a branch that connects into a pipe. And we haven't decided exactly whether it's going to go into this or whether we'll bring it down here. But then, this one, which is on the road side of the property, will come down and we'll have to dig a pipe and it will connect in. Then it will run all the way down that big trench to where we started to dig a soak away, and eventually there will be tanks. But let's also talk about why we don't have any guttering on the outside of the property on the 4th side while we're here.
Yeah, a few people were saying, why is there no guttering around the whole building, and can we see the roadside, because we haven't really seen it before, so let's have a look. Oh, okay.
This is how much lower the roadside is than the house. So when the rainwater falls down here, there's gravity.
So I was just up there, now we're on the road is sloping up.
So the whole thing is much lower on the outside than the inside of the house. So there's no problem that the water is going to come down here and then somehow magically go that direction. It will go that direction. When we get the aluminium guttering, when we redo the roof, of course we will add guttering on this side to collect the water, and then it will go back into the system that we're designing. Right, so that's part 1, is the underground drainage to redirect the rainwater to some storage tanks.
Told you it was going to be nice and simple.
Part 2 is the ground level. It is significantly lower here than at the other corner of the house, and it is significantly higher on this pathway than the inside floor level inside.
Inside floor level inside?
Yes,
right.
The inside floor level inside. The floor level inside, the reason that it's an issue for the outside to be higher than the inside is, if you think about like this is the outside and this is the inside, water hits here, and at the moment it's all concrete and it all just mostly runs down. But when we take this out, it means that the water is going to sink in here and then it can transfer horizontally above the floor level that's inside. So what you want is actually like that. This is the inside, this is the outside. So we need to do a lot of digging to get the level of the outside finished floor lower than the level of the inside finished floor.
So perhaps, as you can see, this was a mammoth project. It literally was 12 weeks of digging, although we were only doing about 3 to 4 hours a day, 3 days a week to preserve our sanity, but also to preserve our muscles, which were quite sore by the end of it, although also much bigger as well. And I think throughout this process, we moved something like 30 plus tons of concrete, gravel, and earth. And the earth was mostly clay. It was incredibly hard. I almost think that they had dug out down to the solid clay to build the house on top of, so they didn't need to put in foundations. So over this time, we were digging out to level the floor, but also to put in trenches for the rainwater harvesting pipe, and in the future for a French drain. We'll talk more about that later and show you what we did with that in the next video. And whilst this was a huge amount of work, and whilst it felt like it was a lot to do to solve a little bit of damp in one of our rooms, we'd actually always planned to do this. We'd always planned to dig trenches for the rainwater pipe so that we can do rainwater harvesting, rainwater capture. We don't get very much rain here in central Portugal, and so every drop that we do get, we want to capture and put into a tank so that we can use it for irrigating our garden and the fruit trees and future crops and things like that. We're also going to be harvesting grey water, and we'll have videos on that in due course as well. Anyway, I'll be quiet for a bit and let you once again enjoy the sight of other people working hard. Okay, the digging is done, which is good because it was really exhausting and took much longer than we expected. The last thing that we need to do is break through here to release some of this water that we had previously blocked up so it didn't go down and flood the septic area before we were finished. And hopefully it will run out onto the road because that's kind of what it's supposed to do. So, would you like to do the honours since it is your trench?
Yeah. Crap. There's a bit of a high spot there.
Oh yeah. That's a good way to find the high spots. And there. Now that, my friends, is success. Now we just have to lay some pipe and fill it all in again. Okay, so.
You may remember I spent weeks digging out the
days, not
floors.
weeks.
2 weeks.
Days over 2 weeks.
Yes.
Yeah.
6 days, 2 weeks. And you may also have seen the little video where we had a bit of a swimming pool starting in here.
Even though we put the guttering on.
Even though we put the guttering on. And this is what I was talking about, that we had solved the rainwater problem, but there's still surface water and groundwater. Now, so most of that water would have come up or like sideways through here, not in through the door, for example. And part of the reason that I dug all of this out and that we're doing a limecrete floor solution is that the bottom level, which is about 200 millimeters, 20 centimeters, is a leca layer, so it's an aggregated clay balls, and they act...
It's like gravel, right?
Yeah, it's like gravel but made from clay. So they put clay drops into an insanely hot furnace and it expands them out and they become little balls. But they serve two purposes in the Lime Creek floor construction. One is drainage, so that the puddle of water that we had last week after the massive flood would sit in that layer, so it's not coming up into the finished floor layer. But secondly, the lacquer also acts as insulation for the floor, so that when we put the underfloor heating on top, we're not losing it all down into the ground. The lacquer acts as an insulation layer and we don't lose that heat.
Let's recap, because I'm confused.
Okay, so one of the issues that we are solving is a rainwater issue. So we put gutters on and then we will add underground drainage to take that water away from the downpipes. So one problem, one solution. The next problem is groundwater. And so that is water that typically comes in through the ground into the house because of the incorrect levels. And the solution is two parts, which is to level the outside so that it is lower than the inside, but also to use a limecrete floor so that there is that drainage layer. And the reason we're doing that also, rather than a damp-proof membrane, is because we have stone walls and there is no damp-proof course. If you put a damp-proof membrane, it means a lot of that water that is underneath is going to try and travel sideways and up through the walls. So that's two issues with a three-part solution. Last issue is the surface water. So that's water that hits the walls, or water that just comes onto the ground and runs along, or just rains straight onto the ground. And to catch that, we're going to put a French drain in. And that will, again, just prevent it going down and in. Rather, it will go down and into the French drain, and we will channel that away. A French drain consists of... Let me show you what it consists of.
Are you going to bring it out, or do you want me to follow you? I can see you there. So
yeah, fine. I just wanted to show the pipe. So it's a perforated pipe. You can get a shot in.
Yeah, I can see that. It's the yellow pipe.
Yep, which is wrapped in a sock. And
it's a big sock.
It's a big sock.
It's a 50-meter long sock.
And so what you do is you dig a big trench. You put a geotextile membrane, so means that the water can pass through, but any dirt or silt won't. You put this with the sock in the bottom of the trench, and then you cover it with rocks, and then you wrap the geotextile around it.
Like you're making a giant burrito.
Yeah, and the reason you put the sock on here is a lot of the rocks, when you get them delivered, depending on what style you get, will also have silt and muck in it. So this will protect, same thing, the water will pass into the pipe, but the sock will collect all of the silt so that it doesn't go into the pipe. And then because we have the double layer, this won't get too clogged up, like it's only a small amount of silt that will get delivered with the river rocks that we'll put into the trench.
Hello, welcome back to the present day. I hope you enjoyed the flashback. Maybe we'll start putting these out on Friday and call it Flashback Friday or something. But that is essentially what we've been up to for about 6-7 months, from August 2021 to January, February this year, 2022. It's now April as I'm recording this, and hopefully you're now caught up to speed in terms of some of the things that we have been doing or have done, and some of the reasons behind them as well. That will then make sense of the next video, where we're going to show you what we've been doing more recently from January, February up until now. There's been lots of bits and pieces, and it hasn't all been very film worthy, but we'll do a bit of a renovation update. I know it's been long awaited by some, so hopefully that scratches the itch, and we'll be talking a little bit about all the work that we've done to fill in all of the earth that we dug out, new water feed, French drain, some new footings for one of the red brick walls, and a few other things as well. So do join us in the next one, where we'll show you all of that. But most importantly, we will answer the question, did it work? So hope to see you in the next video. Talk to you soon. Bye for now.